We close enough?
Bob?
Closer?
I grew up in the Big Ten. I saw a lot of Woody versus Bo in the 10-year war.
The good old days. The good old days.
It was bad old days. And this was Cro-Magnon football at some of its worst. But it was fine with Michigan.
Yeah.
Because even though they didn't have a head coach, I'll call that a even, right? That's a draw. Because on the other side,
not the finest hour
ahead.
for James and his staff. There were some issues. There were some issues in every phase except for, really, I thought, special teams, the play calling, some of James's decisions on the 2-point tries. Manny's defense in the first half, they when you look at the stats, it doesn't look awful. Michigan just basically said we're going to run the ball. They ran for 227 yards. Penn State's wide receiver group took yet another step back today against pretty good competition. They were a non-factor. I mean,
they were a factor.
Yeah,
they were a total negative factor because Penn State could do nothing down the field and didn't try. I mean, they did nothing, not try down the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave, you and I talked about it on the podcast. Would Penn State in the second half of this game ever make Michigan uncomfortable? The answer I thought was no. And they never put any pressure on them. Michigan just ran with it.
One of my questions was Penn State's offensive line against Michigan's defensive front. They at least got a draw.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have been the best unit on the field for Penn State in that they gave Penn State a chance to win. Yeah. I think Sharon Moore, the emergency head coach because of Jim Harbaugh not being here, actually sphinctered up like crazy. He was trying to lose the game, but Penn State was so inert.
I could say you could argue that he didn't think Penn State could threaten.
You could argue that. 32 consecutive runs in the second half.
Yeah.
And they knew it was almost like Kirk Ferentz back in 2004 taking the intentional safety.
A more talented Iowa team, essentially. Yeah, McCarthy was 7 of 8 for 60 yards. He hurt him more with his legs than he did with. Yeah. And I got to say, as good as Manny's defense has played this year, I thought one of the biggest parts of the game was they were terrible on 3rd and long in the first half. And that led to 2 touchdowns, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11. And they ran it twice and essentially ran it a third time.
They were ready to blitz.
They were looking for it.
And two of those situations, Michigan was very well coached. Yeah. And McCarthy got him into a play which sealed the edge and ran over one side then the other side.
Yeah.
And they couldn't deal with that. One was a 19-yard gain, I think, and the other one was a 44-yard gain.
Yeah.
But to me, symptomatic of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Not the game, but a symptom of it were the 2-point conversions, which were absolutely nonsensical. I mean nonsensical. First of all, the one in the second quarter, you're chasing points.
Yeah,
you're chasing points when it's 14-9. Kick the point. You don't know what the score is going to be in the fourth quarter. There's no reason to try a 2-point conversion. To make it a field goal game in the second quarter, that's idiocy. So if they make it, it's still a bad decision.
But they outdid themselves later, Dave.
The second one is absolute nonsense. You've got a 9-point game.
Yeah.
Kick the extra point. Keep your team alive. Keep your guys in it, and make it an 8-point game, 1 possession. Instead, that going for 2. And I asked James Franklin about it. He basically didn't answer the question at all.
He's done that before with you.
He tried to blame it on some sort of, points would be at a premium. And he explained the first one, I guess he rationalized it. We thought points would be at a premium. We wanted to go for it any chance we got. Okay. The second one, that didn't explain it at all. You have to keep your team alive, and that didn't account for it. There's only 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
You have to keep your team alive, kick the point, live to fight. And he acted like he answered it and just blew me off. That's symptomatic of a lot of things that are wrong with this program.
Not only that, I would say, Dave, everything you said I agree with. If you're going to go for 2 there, the 2-point call must be brilliant, not a Three Stooges play where 11 guys go that way and Drew's back there with one guy.
I think it was only 6, Bob.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know what that was.
It never looked like it had a chance. It almost was a give-up, I thought, really. And Dave, just to go back to Penn State's wide-out room in the passing game in general, they had 11 catches in the game total for 70 yards. Yards after the catch on those 11 catches were 32 yards. Think about that.
And this game with 7 minutes to go, I remember looking down, 115 yards passing combined for both sides. This was a game where Penn State, with no wideout group that can do anything, did give themselves a chance to win. The defense in general gave them a chance to win. Drew Aller, I don't know if you can see it from, he again didn't have a good day, but I don't know if you can see it from TV.
He admitted it afterwards.
You can't also can't see from TV. A
lack
lot
of
of times there's just nobody open. Anyway, you got to give the credit to the running game for keeping them in the game. Katron Allen in particular. Nick Singleton actually had a pretty good running game. They gave themselves a chance to win and then basically pissed it away.
Dave, we talked about this too going into the year after last year. You know, really, in both games, Ohio State and Michigan, you could argue the circumstances now or never, right? Ohio State, not a great Ohio State team. They hold them to Ohio State scored late in the fourth quarter. They held them to like 13 points. No Harbaugh at home. They held them to 17 points until the failed fourth. I mean, they held them to 17 and 13 points. And it didn't look like they were close to winning either game.
Also, I heard some stuff down on here, some cat calls from the crowd.
Yeah.
Johnny McGonigal told me, because I was headed toward the Michigan locker room to talk to their players earlier. I guess it got a little bit ugly, and I think people are fed up with James Franklin. Man, this is a threshold point in his tenure here.
It's a big picture, Dave. You're looking about NIL, the transfer portal, all of it folds together. I mean, can you really ask people to support the NIL fund when they come out and watch this? I mean, it's really hard.
You might be talking about people transferring out.
And also I'm saying the transfer portal and also NIL donors.
If we know Drew Aller didn't have the greatest season, but how much of it is due to complete lack of a wideout crew and coaching? Would you be thinking about getting that?
This is he'll never admit it, but this is going to be. They're probably going to be 10-2, and it's a depressing 10-2.
They might not be 10-2. Rutgers is better than anyone knows, and next week is definitely an emotional valley. And Rutgers is going to be loaded for bear to win that game. I actually think Rutgers has a really good shot to win that game this year, and they've never had one before. Anyway, 24 to 15, is that what it was?
24 to 15.
24 to 15.
You know, you also give Michigan credit for playing with basically one hand tied behind its back, just going one-dimensional, and it was more than enough.
They saw the landscape and acted appropriately. Yeah. So that's it from Beaver Stadium. We will see you next week
Rutgers
from what must be a depressing landscape here against Rutgers. Until then, adios.